Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be playing some more Across 8,000 Dead Worlds, a fantastic game by Blackoath Entertainment. And we will try to recover from our tragic loss 1-0 to a red sun from our previous main character, Hugh Sunders. Today we have a new character in store. Her name is Ava Rodriguez. She is a scavenger from the Garden City slums in Mars and has been wrapped up with the gangs and underground activity in the sector. But although she is quite the muscle, she discovered an unusual aptitude for technology, both standard human technology and Aristoth, ancient alien technology. And through that, she has been hired on some of the more adventurous incursions of her local warlord, and most recently has gotten on board a tourist ship onto Karun Station. Ava is a huge adrenaline junkie, and while her mission was to do some espionage for the warlord trying to steal some technology from Drake Industries, she snuck on board one of the Circle-class ships that was planned to be outbound eminently for another crewmate. She pushed go, and the ship launched. So she is currently only equipped with the basic survival package, the KSA crew package, which includes, among other things, a knife, a pistol, 6 O2 tanks, and 6 supplies/rations for her journey. In addition, she has a toolkit and an LKPK class lockpick, which is great for advanced hacking duties. But no other weaponry or armor, so let's see how she fares. She hears, as she's approaching the ship, she hears the commotion from the guards as they notice that someone who is not authorized to be on board a ship has breached the hangar area, and so she jumps in and hits the go button. And the ship will start. So as we get into space, as a reminder, we have only 6 supplies and 6 oxygen tanks to make it to whatever destination we're trying to get to. And we need those for both the trip there and the trip back. So there is just a slight bit of risk that the amount of supplies that we have do not actually get us to a destination, or we end up like in a red sun, for instance. That could happen again. That would be pretty horrific. So let's go ahead and get started with the travel. So first things first, each week we have to roll a random travel event, which has a cumulative 20% chance of occurring. Okay, we did not roll under, so no random travel event for the first week. And that is great, because none of these are really positive events. You kind of want to have the least eventful time while you're traveling on alien spaceship at hundreds of light years. So let's see. Now we're going to roll to see if she has made it to a destination. And this is a 40% chance. 30. So fortunately, within 1 week, she is able to make it to her destination. So she has 5 O2 tanks and 5 supplies left. The supplies and tank will be more than enough to get her back. So we should be in great shape. The supplies, of course, can also be used for general eating, depending on how long she's staying at whatever site she's getting to. And she needs to figure out what she's going to do when she gets back, because there will be some Drake enforcement authorities waiting for her. So it's probably imperative that she finds something good here with which to try to leverage a case for being on the ship in the first place. Let's see if there is an arrival event. So as before, you just do not want to roll a 1 or a 2 in this travel event. Okay, 44. The cruise ship touches down on a planet. That is super exciting, and I have not actually done a planet expedition before. So now let's roll up what that planet is like. But first, of course, we gotta land. Okay. Let's roll up the planet designation. All right, so the planet is designated TO Mera 4811. The planet's diameter is 7,000 miles, so a mid-sized planet. With a atmospheric density of dense. So these would be difficult conditions to breathe in. Of course, the basic gear includes both O2 tanks and a hazmat mask that allows, for breathing for the individual that's traveling. In general, the KSA and Drake Industries suggest not to breathe in strange atmospheres when on an expedition. The planetary climate is temperate, and that is a huge bonus. Of course, it also matters what kind of biome we land in. This planet has multiple biomes, and we're going to land on one of these. In the first landing, we roll a d10. Okay. We are landing in water. Holy cow. Okay. Whether a large lake or ocean, this biome is almost exclusively a large body of water with no shore in sight. Ships landing on the water biome usually do not stop at the surface level. They go deep underwater all the way to the bottom. Anything is possible down here, but one thing's for sure. Deep below the sea on an alien planet, there's little difference between that and open space. As we're landing, what is in the sky? We see there are enormous creatures floating above the planet. So as we're kind of landing, we're kind of passing through this almost jellyfish-like field of creatures from the top of the atmosphere, the atmosphere the planet has, into the depths of the water. The planet has a pretty long day-night cycle, so 900 hours. Not that that matters when we're deep underwater. Okay. In the biome we have, it's a fairly active biome. So there are 4 possible known encounters. While divers are traveling, there's 2 kinds of threats. First is the known encounters. These are species and automations that are found across the galaxy and are associated with Aerosat sites. So a lot of these have been seen and they've been documented. They're all pretty scary. And so avoiding these is super important, but they're at least known about. Then the unknown threats, those are things, new creatures that you kind of come up with on the fly, and those change on each trip that you take. So let's get exploring. We're going to start, we'll start in hex 50, or let's go start with hex 52. That's where we've landed. And now we're going to explore the planet hex by hex until we find a specific site or destination in mind. Because the ship went underwater, I suspect that there's going to be a site that's directly visible for the characters, for the character. Let's roll on the planet side exploration table. D10, as expected. Underwater, we encounter a site immediately. So it's perhaps an enclosed bubble underneath the surface. Unclear what kind of, atmospheric conditions are under this bubble, and it's kind of murky as we're approaching it. Let's see what's around the site. If we have anything. Okay, there are some interesting mineral growths, and that maybe is accounting for why this site is here. There's a bunch of outcroppings of crystalline structures that are both surrounding the bubble, and then also some appear to be inside as well. Okay. So now that we've found a site, we will roll on the site generation tables. Okay, 50. These tables are great, by the way. I love just being able to create names on the fly. Nil. 30. Nilken. 776-853. So site designated Nilken 776-853 is an underwater site with crystalline rocks surrounding the structure. The site's main purpose. This is a big one. This really defines a lot of the random events that can happen in the site. 4. Interesting. This is a temple. So it's unclear whether the ancient aliens, the Aristotle, were religious, but some of their facilities don't have another immediate purpose. So they're not, there's no commercial activity, there's none here near refineries or residential spaces. So in those cases, those may be religious sites. And let's look at the site's story. Overrun by synthetics. So the site was overrun by synthetics, and it's unclear if that was done, that's what caused the site to be abandoned by the Aerosat, or if that has happened since whatever caused the Aerosat to disappear, and those, synthetics have kind of just gone rogue or are like defending, their defensive mechanisms somehow failed. And now as we're kind of proceeding in, and we're getting the first sense of what the conditions are actually inside the site. Let's roll a d12 on this. 4. Large and spacious. Okay. So that's great. The bubble is quite large in comparison to our ship. And there's really, as we're entering, like a real grand sense of religiousness and of contemplation as we're entering the space. The crystalline structures, they kind of tower over the entryway in the portcullis that we're kind of entering through, and against the ceiling of the bubble, we can see intricate details, almost like constellation-like structures that are tinged with the coloring of those crystals intricately carved across the entirety of the bubble. So it's clearly was a lot of work was involved in kind of creating this temple. Okay, and you have one for planetary site as well. Home to an active animal. So that's interesting. I wonder if there are maybe some of those same floating creatures, those jellyfish that we had seen. Inside the site, we can see extremely large versions of those things, and they're just kind of floating in through the space. Okay, and we've already rolled on the planetary side activity, so I think we'll go ahead and keep those numbers active for 4 possible encounters. The dominant site hazard. This is also an important roll. 6, extreme temperature. Well, never great to hear about extreme temperatures. I'm assuming that, underneath this bubble, either there's an extreme amount of cold as we're kind of deep underneath the planet's surface. I'm thinking that's probably what it is that any sort of temperature regulation has kind of failed, and so the overall planet is just, or the bubble is just extremely cold. So not the hazmat suit, but the vac suit protects drivers from extreme temperatures, negative 250 to 250. And these include a pair of magnetic boots. So the vac suit will be okay for traveling through this place. I'm assuming that in here, in the bubble, there is gravity, so we wouldn't necessarily need to use 0G, but we will have that vac suit on, so we will not be, taking advantage of any of these hazmat suits. Okay. And for extreme temperatures, we'll decide it's supposed to vacuum or life support's not working as intended. If not using the vac suit, this place is impossible to explore. Perfect. Okay, and then site size. We already said this was really large. Let's see if it's large or huge. Okay, let's say that it's a really huge site. So that lets us roll on the resources table. How many total resources are in the site? 4 D20 plus 4. So site resources 44. And then how many anthropological finds? 12. So 52 finds. And these can be, artifacts of Aristotle technology. So interesting things. And up to 12 unique encounters. Unique encounters are kind of those on the fly encounters that you can generate, and those can be all kinds of crazy things. Okay, now we are ready to explore the site. Okay. This table right here is really the heart and soul of the game. This is the area events and exploration table. As Ava is exploring through the site, we roll on this table each time she enters a new area, and based on that, that'll tell us kind of what we encounter. The other important thing to note is we have a time tracker. Let me find time tracker. The time tracker allows us to track time spent on the site, and this is used both for our oxygen levels and our ammunition, as well as to see if wandering monsters find us. So I'll go ahead and keep this page flagged, and this tells us kind of what takes time as we're kind of proceeding. Each one of these items on the track is 10 minutes of time, and they add up to one total hour. So each hour we lose one battery, one oxygen, and one ammo if we fire a weapon during that cycle, and then any ongoing effects will trigger. 1. Immediately an encounter. So this is going to be a unique encounter. So in this case, we're going to roll on the unique encounters table. And that's going to help us generate the monster, generate kind of what it does. And then these unique monsters will stay in the overall monster table as we, proceed through this adventure. So encounter difficulty. To start. And let's get easy. Come on. Let's go easy on us. Let's go for elite instead. Alright, so we're not starting off easy. We're going to vary the encounter difficulty a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and do easy, so we're going to give the enemies -5 to combat skills. This will give us a little bit of a boost, especially since we don't have any special weapons. So that's going to be really fun. So creating antagonists. So we are doing an elite encounter. We are one crew member, so we're going to roll on this table to see what kind of encounter it is. What kind of creatures are in the encounter. So 12 is 2 standard creatures. So 2 is not too bad. I'd say before we die ruthlessly. Okay, let's define the creature types. We're on the planet's surface. So this is a local fauna. Which makes sense. We're underground and there's, these giant jellyfish. So they clearly need something to eat. Maybe that fauna is what is doing it. Local fauna always possess a minimum of 1 defense. Okay, and the size 16, humanoid in size. Okay, what is the drive of these creatures? 4, parasitization. I've actually rolled this for virtually all of my encounters so far, which is pretty wild because these are pretty horrific creatures. Basically, if they land a hit, if they get a wound on your character then has a parasite, and unless the character is able to find advanced medical technology, which basically means getting back to the space station, to Karam Station, or finding some technology on the actual site, they will succumb to the parasitic infection. So basically, don't get hit is how these work. We're going to say these are animal-like creatures, so they're not very smart. Animal-like or even fauna-like. Okay, let's get the stat blocks. These are 2 standard enemies. So how the stat blocks work is you start with the stats of whatever the creature type is, and then there are certain kinds of rolls you do to kind of vary those stats. So the first roll is 2 armor or 2 defense. So let's roll on that. Okay, so they have 2 armor. And because the fauna have a minimum of 1 defense, they also have 1 defense. I'll write the rest of these stats as well. Okay, and then the damage roll, or their attack type. So attack skill is +5. And their damage is D10 +5. Okay. And then we can roll on the recovery actions when that becomes relevant. Okay, now let's roll for the enemy roll. These rolls define the moveset that the creatures have. So 4. These are lurkers. Ooh, I'm getting some real dangly Half-Life tentacle monster things vibes from these guys. Okay, so now we'll switch over to lurkers. Lurkers are enemies that prefer to wait for the perfect moment to strike. They work best in groups so they can swiftly attack and return to the shadows. Okay, they favor melee combat, so they get +2 dex, -1 con from their standard stats. So 14 to dex, and con goes to 9. +5 attack skill against opponents not directly targeting them. And then +2 for awareness. Okay. And then this table right here, this is the combat behavior table. So for the lurkers, whenever we're going to roll for their combat, this is going to define what action they're taking on their turns. So we can roll for some unique traits on this unique trait table. This will do a little bit more modification to their stat. Okay. +1 wound, -1 con, -1 will. So these things will have -1 con, 8, -1 will, 9, and then +1 wound. And did we have a wound number listed for the creatures on their stat block? Yes, so they had, by default, 1 wound, so these will have 2 wounds total. Okay. All right, and now we're going to roll for enemy abilities. D20. 8. Entangle. That makes a lot of sense. This creature entangles its target with tentacles, a web-like substance, or a plant-like tendril. To escape, the entangled target must perform a dex check every round until freed or cut out by someone else. Okay. Oh, interesting. This creature is covered with feathers. So maybe there's some sort of symbiotic relationship here. And this is obviously very alien. So there's both plant-like, but then also some animalistic features on this creature. And unique feature, horns. Well, that is also horrifying. So feathers, horns, is a plant, and likes to grab people with its appendage. I think we have a good sense of what this is. So this is going to kind of be hanging from one of the surfaces, either on the ceiling or on the floors of wherever the ship lands. That initial hangar area where the ship is currently docked. And now the creature's name. 6. So that's 2 syllables. And D100 syllables. 94. The hull. Right here. And 94 again. So helmet. The helmet plant. Plant with feathers and horns. All right. So let's get started with the battlefield. So how battles work, there's 2 different options for doing battles in across 1,000 Dead Worlds. I'm going to be using the zone combat option. And basically how that works is that the battlefield is divided into 4 zones. The player character always starts in the first zone, and enemies always start in the fourth zone. One zone gets full cover, so I'm going to roll a d4, and this zone is going to have full cover from ranged attacks. And of course it's 4. Okay, and I'm also going to play by this, I play by this house rule where one of the zones is an escape zone and allows the player character to get away safely. 2. I believe by default, in the default combat system, if you were able to reach the edge of the combat field at any point, then you are able to escape. I'm going to do, because it's zone, I'm going to pick this one specific zone that allows for safe escaping. So first we'll start with initiative. Each combatant rolls a d10. And plus their speed, and speed is generally equal to 0 unless you have some sort of gear or talent bonus that gives you more speed. So d10 to get initiative. Higher rolls act first. So this is for the player character. Ava, 1 and 3. All right, so the lurkers will be going first. So now let's go ahead to the lurkers' combat behavior and see what they're going to be up to. 1. Initiates combat with a surprise attack or attacks someone already engaged with another opponent. Okay. Do these have a ranged attack ability? It doesn't specify. I'm going to say that they do. They have some sort of ability to kind of fire these parasites. These are all at this. These creatures are at -5 for their combat skill. So let's say that they are, since they don't have, they have their attack stat of +5, and they're not targeted. So okay, yeah, we'll use the attack stat, but we're going to take another -5 penalty because these aren't really specialized for range combat. Okay, so they have +5 because they're not currently targeted, but then they have -5 for this decrease, and then also because they're easy combatants, they have -5 combat skill. So we're going to say that they're just going to be rolling at 0 for this initial volley. Okay, so now the attacker is going to roll to attack. Attacker number 1. I'll roll to 3, and for range combat, the target takes dex. So the first one, I'll roll to 3. The second one, I'll roll to 4. Our dex stat is, 10, 12? Ava's dex stat is 8. So those are both below, total rolls are below 8, so we do not have to roll. They missed us. Okay. And then let's have, so these plant creatures, they're kind of, sticking out of these, of the walls here. And this is their tendril. We're going to say that their tendril, they do favor melee combat over their ranged abilities, which makes sense. So let's say they're kind of progressing with their tendrils, and they've kind of reached their tendril out into zone 3. Okay. And then Ava is here. Let's have Ava move over to zone 2. We'll just move the 1, and then we're gonna Ava's gonna use her pistol to fire at the first Holmeth monster. So the KSA service pistol that she's equipped with has a range of 4, which actually doesn't apply here. Basically, it has a range of, I believe it has, pistols have a range of 1 in zone combat. Damage is plus 1d10. So all damage is a standard 1d10 plus whatever the weapon damage is. So this is going to be rolling 2d10. Okay. This weapon is also quick, so she can get multiple shots off. Quick is users can perform a fast attack. Plus, it costs 3 stamina with a quick weapon, but -2 to combat skill. So she can get 3 attacks off. Part of the stamina is that stamina is also used to defend. Let's do 2 attacks, and then we'll save 4 stamina back to defend for the next round. Okay. So, 3 stamina. Let's roll for the first one. Now again, ranged attack. Ava's going to be rolling her ranged skill. So -2 to combat skills, so 12 plus her ranged combat of 10, which would be 24. The creatures are going to be rolling their dex, which is 14. -5 to their combat skills because they're an easy combatant. Actually, no, that's not going to apply here. So it's really rolling with the 14. So 17, which is lower than the 14. They do have 1 defense, which can basically decrease the character's roll by 1. So that is still going to be enough to hit. So now we're going to roll for damage. We're going to roll a hit location and then roll damage. This is a serpentine creature, so we're going to roll a 1d10 and see where we're hitting. 2. So for the serpentine creature, this gives a -1 damage modifier. This counts as the lower body. So we're going to say this is kind of the edge of the appendage. So it's going to have a -1 for damage. So now for damage, we're going to roll 2d10. And we can go ahead and use these. Okay, so we got 2 10s, which is fantastic. So 20 damage. Now we go back to the creature. Oh, his constitution is 8. So 20 damage is more than enough to overcome the constitution, so the creature is knocked down. Okay. Now, for the next round, we're going to go for the creatures again. The first creature that's down, it has to roll a recovery action. Okay, if the damage total exceeds the target's con, the target is knocked down. If they're hit while knocked down, they receive a wound, and being knocked down only ends with a recovery check, which is passing a will check. Okay, so their will is 9. Okay, so it does pass the will check. That's going to spend 5 stamina. Now, the creature has to roll a recovery reaction. Here. Okay, so the creature is overwhelmed, and now it can either have -2 defense or attempt to flee. Okay, the creature attempts to flee. So this has been scared, and that's great. So the creature, we'll say that it's going to try to retreat back into its recess. Awesome. So now we just have 1 guy to deal with. So let's get to rolling. It's going to roll another. Actually, we're going to say that now it's going to actually approach Ava and actually be touching her. So it's going to roll a melee attack. Well, depending on what its combat behavior is. Yep, perfect. So do a melee attack. So for a melee attack, it's going to be rolling its standard attack skill. It is targeted now, so +5, but then -5 for the combat skill. So we're going to say that it's just rolling. Actually, it's not going to be targeted. We're going to say it's rolling at a +5. Okay, so it rolled a 20 versus. For close combat, we will use our close combat skill. Also, the creature, because it's in close combat, it gets a +2 bonus because it's an attacker. So it rolled a 22. We have rolled a 19. But we have 4 stamina that was left over from the attack. And in fact, we actually didn't even roll the other attack. So we'll just say that we have 7 stamina left over. So that is going to reduce the enemy's total by 7. So their total is 15 versus our 19, which is excellent because in a close combat situation, the loser always takes damage, even if they were not the attacker. So now, because of that, we've scored it. Ava has scored a hit, so she's the one that's going to roll hit location and damage. So hit location, 5. That's going to be in the middle, so a 0 damage modifier. And now let's roll damage. She is going to be using... So she still has her pistol in her hand. I'm going to say that she has her knife in the other hand. So it's going to be using a combat knife, which is plus 1d10. So let's roll 2d10 for damage. Okay, so we rolled a 13, which is more than the creature's con of 8. So the second tentacle is now knocked down. Awesome. Let's see if the tentacle recovers. It's going to try to do a will check. It does recover. Now it's going to do a recovery reaction. Okay, it is bloodied, or whatever the equivalent of bloodied would be, as Ava's able to kind of slice into it, and a bunch of little parasites are kind of coming out of the hole, and there's a tuft of feathers everywhere, and the creature, kind of whatever its equivalent of blood is gushing out. So it's rolled bloody, so it's going to get one of these 2 reactions to blood. It gets plus 2 damage on its next attack. Okay. So let's roll a morale check. Okay, d6. 3. Confused by fear, it attacks the nearest target, friend or foe. Okay, so it's lashing out in confusion, but it's going to attack. Again, it's going to do another melee attack. It's rolling at plus 5. So 9 versus our close combat of plus 10. 20. Awesome. So Ava's able to hit it again. We'll keep the same hit location, and let's roll for damage. Okay, the damage is 3, which is not enough to wound it, so the creature is still standing up. That was the creature's turn, so now it's Ava's turn. She's going to roll with her knife to try to get some damage on this guy. Let's roll for combat. The knife is also a quick weapon, so we're going to get multiple attacks in. Let's try for the first attack using 3 stamina, leaving us with 7 stamina. And it's going to be rolling at a -3. So -3, but then +2 because we're attacking, so -1. 20. Awesome. That is a critical success. Very cool. Critical hit. Rolling a 20 while using combat skill results in a critical hit. This means you bypass enemy's defenses and automatically knock it down. Or wound it if it's already knocked down. Okay, so it is just knocked down. Fantastic. Now the creature has to roll a recovery check, which is going to be d20 plus its will. 2. It is unable to recover. Awesome. Let's go ahead and attack it again. So it's Ava's turn again. She will attack. Let's attack with our d20. Okay, 9 plus 10 is 19. We're going to do the quick attack again, so basically -3, but then +2 because we're attacking, so we'll say 18. And the creature is going to defend, and because it's down, there is a penalty to its defense. Okay, they cannot spend any stamina. So basically, I'm going to say they're not able to do kind of any other defense status maneuvers. Okay, yep, the enemy's unable to defend. Now let's roll damage. And we'll keep the hit location the same. Okay, the damage is 7. Its con is 8, so that's not enough. Let's attack again. Now, Ava's going on to force stamina. Okay. She rolled a 13. And the creature's rolling. Okay, and the creature's unable to defend. Let's roll for damage again. Okay, another 4. Okay, so still not down. Let's attack it one more time. Okay, an 11. Now the creature's roll. 9. So that is not enough. Okay, we have 1 stamina left for this round, but let's see if we can get this guy out of here. So that is a 6. Not quite yet. Okay, the creature's going to try to recover again. A will check. That is not enough. Perfect. Okay, so that is a critical miss, which is unfortunate. Okay, let's say for melee. A melee critical miss. 2. Slipped. You step on something slippery, text dex, or be knocked down. Yep, it is squirting blood everywhere, so that makes a lot of sense. Let's test dex. Ava's dex is 8. So plus 8 on this roll, trying to meet or beat 20. Okay, so Ava is also knocked down. Okay, Ava has used so 3 stamina this round, so she still has 5 stamina. Let's see if she can get back up. Getting up is going to be a will check. She is able to get back up. That's going to take the rest of her turn. So she slips, but then gets back up, and now the creature gets to roll another recovery check, which it fails. Okay, let's get some more stabbing action in. 16, that should be a hit. Creature on the creature's combat. The 16 is going to beat the 10 for the creature. So now let's roll damage. And there we go. Finally, Ava's able to get a really thick piece of meat chopped right off of the tendril. And the tendril takes a wound. This creature has 2 wounds, but this creature is now halfway, defeated, and a huge chunk is missing, and it's really writhing in agony. Let's attack one more time and see if we can finish the job here. Okay, 6, so 15, and the creature rolls a 10. That is not enough. We will roll for damage, keeping the hit location the same. 10, that is enough. And then finally, with that last knife strike, she slices the entire tendril in half. And the creature's tendril falls over, and we have defeated a standard monster. Fantastic. Okay. So without a scratch and just some gooey monster blood and guts on us, Ava has successfully stepped off the ship. So we have made progress from our last expedition. Now the next step is going to be to explore more of this site, number 1. Number 2, try to find something useful so that way we can bring it back to the base and not immediately get imprisoned or worse. And also try to avoid whatever synthetic life forms are overrunning this place, because this is still sacred ground, and sacred ground usually has some tough defenses. So we will catch you next time with that adventure.